And we are live. Welcome, fiends, to Handle with Scare, presented by the Slashing Cast Podcast Network. Our show discusses horror movies and the phobias that they emphasize. With me tonight, as always, are both of my co-hosts, Holly Hooch and John. And guys, here we are tonight, start of a new month. We got a new phobia, and one of the few musicals that we'll be covering on the podcast, but definitely a great way to kick things off here.
I like how you say one of the few musicals, like only a few will sneak by.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Well, we of course just somewhat recently did the genetic opera.
Right.
So that would. Have you guys done any musicals before that?
I don't think so, actually.
Nope.
There aren't that many horror musicals. Sweeney Todd. I was thinking about it today when I was watching it.
I feel like Thanksgiving could have been a musical if you really wanted to. I mean, it is a stage musical, right?
Yeah, there was like a college production of it, yeah.
Oh, and isn't there a stage Reanimator musical, I think, too?
That's cool.
But it's only been on stage, from what I understand.
I like musicals more than rock operas, I'm sorry.
Oh! And then, of course, Evil Dead stage musical as well. Evil Dead 2, I think.
Look at that. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a few, just not too many like mainstream ones.
No. And I was kind of wondering, because this movie is 1986, and I don't know a lot about musicals. I'm not a big musical person, but I feel like this might be one of the earliest or one of the first sort of pop musicals where it became okay to make big budget sort of Broadway musicals about more kind of pop culture-y stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like we would get like Monty Python, their Holy Grail musical. I forget what that's called. But this,
Life of Brian? No. Yes?
I can't. There was a famous musical for the Monty Python Holy Grail movie.
Oh, never mind. Okay.
But yeah, no, and because musicals up to this were kind of like,
just the old like Broadway ones. You mean like nothing like
yeah, that's sort of the West Side Story
kind of shit. Okay.
Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, like it's all kind of like traditional musical theater,
okay.
And then you get this movie coming out, and it's based on a B horror movie,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I tried watching just like a generic, Little Shop of Horrors. I couldn't make it through. There's one like that was
the original.
Well, not the original, but there was one that was, I believe it was either an 80s or 70s release, and it wasn't a musical. It was just straightforward, movie, and it wasn't a comedy. And I was very disappointed. And I think I only watched about 10 minutes before I gave up. I might try again later after this recording, but so far no go.
And of course, this also spawned like a cartoon series too, which is really off kilter for how dark of a musical this actually is. But originally the ending to the movie was a lot darker than what they actually went through with because of the testing screenings. Because initially, like the way that it ended is Audrey and the offspring from Audrey eventually just take over the world. But they didn't go with that at all. Because even like in the musical itself. For the stage production, you basically have Audrey and the guy getting killed at the end. And even like that's even a little bit darker than the route that they ended up going with for the film.
I never knew that there was another ending until I was recently, I recently watched it, and I was just kind of looking up other information about it, and there was another review that I caught where it had the alternate ending, and I was like, was I fucking drunk? Like, why don't I remember any of this? So I went back and I dug around and I found the original. And yeah, to your point, T, it was, I think it was test audiences in San Jose and LA were really upset by the ending. It just did not test well. And so they decided to go with the happy ending. And I have to admit, like, one of the first things I was going to say during this review was how when I started watching that movie, I immediately started getting like this warm and fuzzy feeling. Like I hadn't watched it since I was a little kid. And even then, like I think I only watched bits and pieces like you do as a kid with ADHD. And I really enjoyed it. I had such a nice time. And then to see like the original ending, like it was such a gut punch. It was so sad.
Yeah, so I'm guessing you guys, the version you watched is the director's cut?
Right.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think what's interesting is it seems like I think that's the normal version
Yes.
now. If you stream
Mhm.
it, I don't think they show that you can see the original.
No, I actually had to dig
But-
around for it, and I only was able to see, I mean, like the 11-minute ending, and then I had to watch another YouTube video with just the Audrey death, the death scene where she,
Mhm.
asked to be fed back to the plant, to Audrey II. So that was nuts.
Mhm. Nice. Yeah, I had forgotten the original ending, so I had to YouTube and watch a video that showed the original ending, which I completely forgot.
Yeah, it's so
But-
sad. and I'm a big girl, but even I got really sad.
It's funny. I don't want to jump ahead, go through this, of course, but it's funny though because the person who posted the original on YouTube, the original ending, pointed out that it was kind of a little bit the happy ending is a little bit weird because Rick Moranis' character is literally a murderer,
Yeah.
but he gets a happy ending, and so it's a little bit strange. But that audience, demanded the happy ending.
I mean, they could have gone with a separate happy ending. Like maybe he's a murderer and he kills the plant and then he goes to jail and then Audrey visits him every day for like, I don't know, the rest of their lives or something stupid like that. That'd be kind of cute too. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, killing off Audrey was like, I think that was a big part where you're like, come on. And then on top of that, like world domination. That was,
Mm-hmm. But it's a great ending. It's a great ending.
It is.
For
It's a
kind
strong ending. And it's a sensible
Yeah, yeah.
ending. And I think this is the very first time we've opened the show with just going right to the ending.
Well, I mean, they kind of had to kill Audrey off because otherwise she would have ran out of puppeteers. They were already using up to like 60 puppeteers during like the final form of the
Mhm.
puppet, which is just crazy to think about. But that's like one of the reasons why I really like this movie. Obviously, this was directed by Frank Oz, who himself was a puppeteer. He also did a lot of the Muppet stuff, and you even had like a lot of the Henson siblings. Who were working on the film as well. We have the daughter who plays one of the dentist patients who gets to, visit Steve Martin, has like the whole like mouth brace or whatever. And then, one of the sons also was one of the main puppeteers for the movie. But all in all, like this movie holds up extremely well.
Mhm.
And even like the original, which was a Rick Corman movie, it was basically done essentially off of like a lost bet. Where they basically like made that movie in a couple of days, which is
Wow.
ridiculous to think about for the original version.
I'm going to have to go check that out. So many Roger Corman movies in,
Yeah.
in the show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. And Frank Oz is, of course, also Yoda. He puppeteers Yoda, and I think does his voice, I believe,
Mhm.
in Star Wars, which is cool. But yeah, the movie definitely holds up. It's not. There's, excuse me. There's a couple of things that I was thinking if they made it today that they would probably shy away from a little bit because tonally, I feel like nowadays movies have to be more kind of tonally on a single track, basically, and that this movie it goes full on with the horror and full on, with the comedy and the musical part. And some of the, as you mentioned, some of the dark parts are pretty dark, and like the subject matter and the way it's depicted, it gets pretty dark, even right in the very beginning of the movie when we're, introduced to the main character. I forget what her name is.
Audrey?
And yeah, Audrey, of course, right, obviously. And she has a black eye, right in the very beginning. And it's very open with that, with like the abuse that she's getting from
Martin.
the dentist character, Steve Martin.
Sorry, I was just.
And that gets.
Oh, no,
go ahead.
I was just laughing because he's so great in that. But you're right. I mean, like they kick it off with the song about living on Skid Row and like just extreme, being so poor and downtrodden, and then Audrey's getting beaten by her boyfriend, and Rick Moranis is an orphan, or at least grew up in an orphanage, and yeah, It's when you think about it, it's actually a pretty sad movie, but they do such a good job of like inserting the comedy in it that you kind of like you kind of don't feel it that much.
Hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. The tone of the movie right off the bat is really like, I think also it works because it's so kind of cartoony and
Right.
obviously doesn't take place in the real world. It's an extremely kind of stylized world that it takes place in. And it felt like a play. Like sometimes nowadays when they make movie versions of musicals or of stage plays, they make a point of making it very realistic and cinematic, the way that movies are. But this felt like they were almost filming the play. You know, the way that the sets, they had only a few sets, like 2 or 3 sets. That street set that had the painted background and everything, and they always use that same section of the street set. It felt like,
well, then of course, then you've got the muses coming in every other scene and doing a number, which was really, really fantastic. Oh yeah,
with what's
with the
I'm
2 girls
blanking
from
on
Martin,
their names, but
and it's
from Martin
shoot.
TV show, and also from House, Tisha Campbell, also of House Party fame, which is a great comedy movie from the 90s. But yeah, no, definitely recognized both of them. They're great. Kind of the Greek chorus.
So whatever happened to Rick Moranis, man? So last time I heard, he got punched in the face in a subway, which was so sad to hear. Because I don't even think that probably the dude didn't recognize him as Rick Moranis, just was punching some dude in a subway. I think he retired. I know he retired from acting, but that's such a bummer. I had I don't know, such a huge crush on him when I was a kid.
Yeah, I don't know, but I can't think of anything recent he's done, right? I mean, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Hey, look it up. What's going on with Rick Moranis? How come he's not around? In the meantime, I can say, check out my very nice background. I'm currently in my folks' home. This is my parents' spare bedroom. And I'm going to spare you the crucifix that's on this wall. But
nice. But, so Rick Moranis and a lot of the... Oh, Holly, you've frozen, hopefully. Oh, there you go. You're back. Rick Moranis and a lot of the actors in this movie are from SCTV, I noticed. I used to watch that show as a kid. It's kind of like Canada's Saturday Night Live. And Eugene Levy comes from there, and John Candy, who's in this movie, and Rick Moranis, of course. And I think there's a couple other people in this movie who come from that world, which is... It seemed like an intentional casting thing because there were so many people from that show cast in this movie.
Yeah, it looks like Mick Moranis was initially signed on to do a sequel to Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, but it's been in development hell essentially. But he'd have gone on a long hiatus for a while because he didn't do anything for 20 plus years.
I'm sure he's living off the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids money.
Well, what else has he been in? He was in Ghostbusters and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. There's a bunch of... I feel like there's way more than that.
Strange Brew, which is another great comedy from the 80s.
The Flintstones. He was Barney.
Yeah, nice. Flintstones, Barney. Nice. Yeah, he's really good. That Honey, I Shrunk the Kids was a really big hit. That was a huge... And that was, I believe, also strangely written by Stuart Gordon, I believe, who wrote Reanimator and From Beyond, also wrote Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Got fucking range.
I know. It's an interesting trivia.
I didn't get any real good trivia from this movie. But, so, I mean, I don't know. When was the last time you guys watched this movie?
When I was a kid.
And what were your reactions watching it as an adult?
Oh, I had an absolute blast throughout the entire thing.
Yeah, it's extremely good. It's funny because I didn't like it as much when I was younger. I was kind of like, yeah, it's cool,
Whatever.
like whatever, and then kind of moved on from it till it wasn't like, as a younger guy, it was just kind of like, yeah. But it was good. I recognized it was good. But as an adult, I can appreciate it.
But you were like a
more.
preteen when it came out, and you're like, just stupid. I'm a grown person. I don't need to be watching puppets. I can't get over how incredible Audrey II is, the puppet. Like, that's insane. Like, I found myself like straight up, because these days with so much like CGI and special effects, it's nothing gives me a sense of wonder anymore, because I've been given so much that I absolutely just take everything at face value and be like, oh yeah, not that I would believe anything is real and not CGI, but I'm just saying, like, I'm not surprised by anything anymore. So to see it and then remembering that the technology wasn't there to make things easy, that everything had to be done the hard way and the creative way, that thing is fucking amazing. It's just incredible. And then with the voice of Levi Stubbs, I mean, holy shit, like that voice fills a room. So yeah, I was really happy to watch it again. Like I said, it just gave me the warm and fuzzies the entire time, and it was really. And again, I was happy that I watched it with the theatrical release ending, and then later went back and watched the really sad one.
Yeah, he's great. I love how in the credits it names him and then it says from the Four Tops. It actually points out, what group
in case you missed it.
Which I looked up his Wikipedia too, because I wanted to see if I recognized him from anything, which I didn't really, because I don't listen to the Four Tops. I mean, I know the Four Tops and I've heard a lot of their hits, but don't know him that well. But he was in a ton of groups, kind of like famous and near famous groups before the Four Tops and during that time. But he was a really active singer. Yeah, his voice work is great in the movie.
And this was also like the first like musical number that had a swear word in it too, and then it even got nominated for the Academy Awards. Fortunately, it didn't win because it lost like one of the Top Gun songs.
Was it when he said? Oh, I was also surprised when he said, "No shit, Sherlock," and I was like, "Is that where it comes from?" Mm-hmm. Holy crap! I spent like a whole 6 months of my childhood saying that to everybody's annoyance.
Yeah, I wonder if that's where the popularity of it came from. Probably, yeah.
Yeah, has to be. But yeah, the song in question was the Big Green Mother.
Mm-hmm. And it felt the opening of the movie and the opening song and everything. It also reminded me a lot of Rocky Horror Picture Show, because it has that same kind of the 50s rock and roll with the horror, the B horror theme. So it almost felt like they were kind of in the same
Rocky Horror came out in what, 77? So it's only a few years in between. And of course, you've got your Meatloaf character that's just like Steve Martin or vice versa. Which, incidentally, I don't usually go for Bad Boys, but I have to admit, I thought that Steve Martin's character was really hot. Even though it was so evil. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's funny. I was thinking of Rocky Horror, but I didn't make the connection with the Meatloaf, the motorcycle riding bad boy.
Well, actually, no,
yeah, they're the same character, basically.
Because I think in I don't know.
And they play the same role.
Always on a motorcycle.
Story,
although
basically.
All the little tidbits, all the little details of the movie were so endearing. Like the fact that he jumps off his motorcycle before he stops, and the motorcycle parks itself. Oh my god!
Keeps going, yeah.
Or that.
The only thing I could keep thinking of though is whenever Audrey's on the back of the bike, she's sitting to the side. I was like, who the fuck sits on a motorcycle
really
like that?
Tight pencil skirt. She can't open up her legs. She's got to do these tiny little hop steps. But at one.
She would have to pull it all the way up.
She falls off the bike, and he yells at her for doing that.
Yeah, her character reminded me so much. Her character is the original, but in Mars Attacks,
Sarah
Jessica Parker's character, they're almost the same character. In that movie.
She's kind of channeling Marilyn Monroe vibes, because she's got that really sweet, ultra feminine voice, which incidentally, I loved that. I mean, like the whole like persona is really great. The again, super ultra feminine, but to have that super high squeaky voice, and then when she breaks into song, to go into a really full, heavy, like lower range like voice, really great. And I don't know if she was a real singer. I don't. T, can we look up the singers?
Well, she was the only person that returned from like the off-Broadway show. Was her character.
Well, and I heard I saw a thing that said that I think they do sing, like Rick Moranis sings, and that I saw a thing that they didn't check whether Rick Moranis could sing when they cast him, and then luckily he was able to
like
sing
a big
too.
oversight.
So it does, yeah. Well, they probably figured we'll just overdub him with somebody else's voice.
A lot of the guys
sing.
singing like Steve Martin and whatnot, like they're using their own like their own charisma, their own sort of personalities in the voice. It's not like they're being operatic singers. They're not being like, really really well trained singers, except for Ellen Green, who just fucking kills it every time. I've been really cursy today. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, it's like rock and roll style, so they can kind of sing it like that, and they don't have. It's not like opera or something or classical. But yeah, I think everyone is. In fact, I think they overdubbed the entire movie because it really felt sort of that unnatural. When you watch like a Sergio Leone movie where people are speaking English, but they're overdubbing it anyways because there's a lot of Italian accents that they're getting rid of. This movie kind of did that, and I think probably because of the music and the musical aspect of it, but I think they were overdubbing everyone for the entire thing because it kind of had that weird feel to it. But
I was also
and I do love too just like the basic setup of like how they get Audrey II in the first place. Because he's just buying it at like some like a local shop nearby from like the Chinese man, very Gremlins-esque.
Right. Oh yeah, that's right.
In a sense.
And Gremlins came out when, like, actually, yeah, I was
right around the same time.
Wouldn't have been earlier.
No, that's a trope. That's like a story trope. It's like It's like the monkey paw thing. The person wanders into the weird curio shop and there's the monkey paw or there's whatever and they buy it and then
so that's kind of like happens. Fetishizing the foreign kind of thing, mysterious, East or whatever.
They literally put the word exotic on the store window and I was like, oh, that's like a little on the nose. And they used the font, the made up like Asian font for the what I mean? Which very 80s. That was a really popular font in the 80s. But yeah, I had that same thought that it was like the same. But it was the fact that it was specifically like that kind of shop. It was pretty much exactly like Gremlins. But the funny thing is I thought they were going to go a different direction with the origin because I had completely forgotten how they got the plant. And there's a thing early on when they introduced the old guy, the owner of the store, and he's reading a newspaper, and it says how there's going to be an eclipse soon
right.
on the headline of the newspaper. And I thought it was going to be like a thing where there was an eclipse and then it like falls out of the sky since it's an alien. Essentially, spoilers. It's an alien from another planet. I mean, presumably, I guess since it comes from the shop, it could be some kind of supernatural earthly creature. But
it was, like right? I mean, so alien. They give the script at the beginning of the movie, right, about otherworldly things, and then the movie starts. He already has the plant with him, and then he goes back into telling how it was that he found it. And in the retelling, it was like a light from above. A green light came and zapped the little spot where it kind of turned up. So basically delivered it in some sort of like, light ray.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Kind of like, just like the standard kind of like some hand wavy, like there's some stuff and then it's there. it's like, uh,
Right.
Night of the Living Dead. You know, it's like they're just out of their grave and they're walking around. Like, I don't know. There's a comet or
And
something.
there's that little part where
over.
like he kind of sees the comet, so he walks across or he walks up to the street, and there's these guys that are like, you know, kind of singing and, you know, snapping their fingers, right, or something. And then he goes to like, you know, take up a fifth spot behind them as he's noticing the comet. But I thought that was adorable. Where he's like, "Oh, I'll go sing as well."
By the way, I think you already said this, T, in the introduction, but we did talk about the fact that this is the Fear of Plants month, right?
I forgot to mention that, but you know, we ended it with that on the last episode. But yes, we are doing botanophobia, which is the fear of plants.
Okay, yeah, no, I thought we might have skipped that, and I just wanted to bring that up because, you know, as we kind of talk about the plant and its alien origin and everything, you know, I wanted to bring up the fact that fear of plants, not trying to diminish for all of you out there who may have a genuine fear of plants. I feel like a fear of plants is like the most minor fear of all, unless you maybe live like in the Amazon, and then fearing plants is legitimate because they can actually kill you there. But fear of plants is kind of a funny one. You know, it's sort of random. And so I like the fact that maybe of all, you know, spoilers for the month, but I'm wondering, I'm going to make this prediction that this may be the only plant that's actually genuinely a threat. Like, you feel like this thing could actually take over the world and could, dominate the planet.
In the original ending.
Mm-hmm. And it really is scary and threatening, you know, even when it's little and it wants the blood from him and he's feeding it by cutting his fingers, and it gets older and more demanding. Like, it's really, you know, a threat. You know, it's actually kind of intimidating.
Only after it sings its show tunes.
Which, you know, if I had a plant that I might feed it some blood.
Which, again, talk about how Rick Moranis' character makes bad decisions. He's not necessarily like a really heroic. He's a good guy, but he makes some really bad decisions. And the feeding the blood, like, you would think at a certain point, because he cuts all his fingers. There's a scene where he has bandages on all of his fingers because he's been feeding it so much of his blood.
Where he goes to the radio station for that, to show off the plant and have the promotion. And that's the John Candy scene. There's a scene where the plant wants to take a bite out of like one of the radio crews, like,
the secretary's
like, she's bending over and she's wearing a red skirt, so it kind of has like a very Apple-like, you know, esque sort of look to it. And the plant's trying to take a bite, and Rick Moranis is shutting its mouth and holding it back. That should have been a really big red flag, I think, but not for Rick. Not for Seymour.
I know. It seems like one of the themes of this movie is, because I was kind of I like to kind of think about, like, what is this movie saying, like, as a kind of general thing. And it feels like some of this movie is kind of about how, you know, Rick Moranis' character is poor and he lives in Skid Row, and this is kind of his way out. Like, it's like his shortcut to fame kind of thing. And so the plant sort of helps him to become famous, or as he thinks, you know, because the plant's really popular and everyone wants to know about it. And so it's kind of like he's willing to put up with the bad side because he knows, or he wants that fame and notoriety. It's kind of, you know, as we like to joke in other episodes, besides the man is the real monster. In this case, man is not. Well, maybe, I don't know. Is the real monster, but the other one is that. Oh God, I'm losing my train of thought. I'm having an old person moment. But what was I just saying?
So
I was saying how
it was a ticket out of the slums. It was
Right, right, and so it is sort of modern. It's sort of as timely today as it was when it was made, where it's kind of like, internet fame and influencer fame, where you kind of have this shortcut, like here's this thing that's all of a sudden going to blow me up and make me popular and get me money and get me out of my situation, kind of thing. But it has this real dark
I'm
side.
still having a hard time.
Yeah, your morality's put into question.
Mm-hmm.
I said it puts your like morality in question.
Oh, can you see John?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I cannot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna assume you're there. Anyway, I was having a hard time with the whole moral of the story thing too, because I thought, well, he has been he's been a good man throughout the first part of the movie, and even when I guess it's when he feeds Steve Martin to to Audrey II, but I don't know. I wondered if it was because he never, got his confidence naturally, because he was always, letting somebody bully him around, whether it was, I guess it wasn't his boss, but it might have been a little bit his boss in life, and then the plant. But yeah, I was still having a hard time getting like my head around the moral of the story, because him and Audrey you just kind of want them to be happy, and at the end they are in the theatrical release, but I still don't really. Yeah, I think it's just a sad movie.
I think what you're saying makes me realize, like, this is like a story thing that I've been kind of liking lately. There's another series I'm sure you guys have heard of, but I don't know if you've seen or read, called Death Note, which is a Japanese manga, and it's an anime, and it's a horror themed one, and it's about a kid who gets a book that lets him basically kill people by writing their name in it. But so to connect it to Rick Moranis' character, I kind of like this. It's the kind of complex thing where you have a character that's an underdog and who's really like shit on by everybody around him and treated really badly, and he kind of starts doing things to sort of bring himself up and kind of stand up for himself and become and sort of push back, and you kind of root for him. You're like, yeah, like he's standing up for himself, and he's pushing back against the bad guys. But then he starts to kind of take it a few steps too far, where it's like, now you're not. It's like, well, should I be rooting for this guy now? Because like I did want him to, succeed and to kind of be the man. But now he's killed, the dentist, and literally chopped him up with an axe. You got
that moral ambiguity right there, that's an easy transition, right? Where he didn't kill him, but he did chop him up. But then he is definitely guilty of Mushnik's, his boss's death. But then again, the whole moral ambiguity, because his boss is being a creep and trying to take advantage of him. So yeah, it's a tough one.
Mm.
Well, yeah, they were also like on the verge of losing their jobs too, because they just weren't getting any business at their flower shop until Audrey II came along. And then all of a sudden, you got guys coming in looking to buy a dozen roses, and they can't break, hundreds. That he just, I guess I'll just have to double my order.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, it starts to help the shop and bring them back. And by the way, the owner of the shop, when they introduced his character, the old man, and he's reading the newspaper and everything, and throughout the movie, I kept thinking he was John Goodman the whole time. And then I didn't remember he wasn't. John Goodman from like the Roseanne show. He looks just like him.
I'm a big John Goodman fan.
We just wanted that for the further Flintstones
cool.
connection.
I really enjoyed how the puppet that they used for Audrey II, at first, when it was very obvious that the plant was growing. So when he first feeds it blood, it grows, it tears out of the aluminum can, and then it keeps growing a little bit. But then later in the movie, they start making it really subtle. So in every scene, it starts getting just a tiny little bit bigger, whether he's eaten or not, until he's filled up the entire room. And that transition of going that transition of going like, from that size all the way up, that's when like I don't know, it just kind of blew me away how subtle they were with that.
Mm. Yeah, the animation of the mouth and the of the plant is pretty crazy. I actually just recently, by random chance, saw a little documentary about the special effects of the movie, and an interesting thing that they did is that the big Audrey is literally large.
Wow.
It's the actual size that it appears in the movie, and yet the mouth is really active and animated, and they couldn't actually accomplish it at that speed in real life, and so they would play the song on set slower and animate the mouth slowly and then speed up the film in the post-production. So if you watch the movie, whenever there's a person in the same shot with the plant and the plant's talking, if you look at the person, there's sort of a weird sort of sped up quality to the way that they move. But that's kind of how, because when you look at it, the mouth is moving at lightning speed. It's, the animation and the articulation of it is so fast and on point with everything that it's kind of amazing. It looks like CGI. It's so
and those were comments being made by some sort of there's a lot of videos out there of people recording their own reactions to watching the movie for the first time, and there were a couple of people who swore that they thought that they saw like that additional CGI had been added to it recently. But I mean, I had no idea that's how they did it. That's really amazing. Oh, these guys are really smart.
Mm-hmm.
And this was also like a very big budget for a musical too. It was like $25 million to make, which is unheard of for this type of movie.
And Frank Oz was a pretty big time director for a while there too. I feel like he sort of gets overlooked in the modern era. Like I think people don't realize that he did a lot of good movies. Like, I'm pretty sure am I wrong in saying that he was the director of American Werewolf in London? Or no, does he?
That was Landis.
Who directed American Werewolf in?
That was Landis.
Oh, that's John Landis, right? But he had some involvement in that. Oh, he's just in that movie, I think, as an actor. That's right. But I'm thinking of something else. Maybe I'm thinking of Labyrinth. Is that another Frank Oz movie? He's done a few movies that are cool. Basically, is my point.
Well, he did like the Dark Crystal. He did a lot of the Muppets. He did What About Bob?
Nice. What About Bob? That's a random one. No puppets in that one or special effects.
That's right.
But there is Bill Murray. There is that.
I have to say, it was like such teasers to put John Candy and Bill Murray in the movie for only like 2 minutes worth of time. Although Bill Murray's sequence was pretty ridiculously good, and I love the sort of like erotic undertones of like, I guess they weren't undertones, they were overtones.
Yeah, definitely over.
Yeah, I mean,
that was
pretty
great.
Blatant. It was funny because it was played for a laugh. It was sort of obviously played for laughs in kind of a weirdly like wholesome way. But it's like this is a straight up kink thing.
The really great part was that he was so chatty the entire time because he was trying his best to appear as normal as possible. So he's like just talking really mundane little things and getting super excited every time like a new tool comes out. What?
And all that was ad-lib too by Murray.
Nice. The mouthful of cotton when he's like spitting out all the cotton.
Steve Martin's shoulder
stuffing his
super
mouth.
like sends you away.
Yeah, that part was blatantly sexual when he's grabbing his shoulder. Yeah, definitely.
Oh, that was great. Get out of here, pervert. Or sicko. I can't remember what he calls him, but that was great.
Oh man, but yeah, there's also like a connection to Batman with like that with the dentist character, because in the original it was also played by Jack Nicholson, who was like really young at the time, and then they ended up like using the same like dentistry equipment in
Very cool.
Batman.
Very neat.
Yeah, like the tray of the tools. Yeah, they have that in. That's right, in the like the surgery part of Batman when he's getting out of the surgeon, right? The tray of the dental tools and surgery stuff, definitely. Oh my god, what else was? Oh yeah, I love the painting on the skin texture on the plant, especially the young. Like when he was in the waiting room for the radio show, the way that it's painted, and you can really tell it's an alien. I had only seen it, on I think TV or VHS in the past, and then watched it in HD, and you can see all this extra detail. There's like hexagon
I watched it for free on Tubi.
On it and everything.
It looked
sure
pretty
that
good,
was HD,
but
probably.
it was still wasn't super sharp, but maybe that's just as good as I could get it.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. But yeah, the story, I mean, the problem with the original ending the problem with I say original ending, meaning the theatrical ending, not when really the original ending.
Call it the happy ending versus the sad
ending. The director's cut. Yeah. It's great though because it makes the movie an alien invasion movie, which the theatrical version is not, by the way that the ending, happens. And it's so genius because if you look at it just purely as an alien invasion story, it's an alien creature that's really cute and endearing, and it makes people want to take care of it and help it. And then it grows up to the point where, it can basically take care of itself and start feeding itself, and then it's going to take over the planet. They have that sort of
a little bit of a reference. Well, I mean, in the sad ending, they had the whole, this really sad because it eats Rick Moranis at the very end, and then it goes on to the whole like alien invasion part. Excuse me, and then the muses keep talking about how this same story has been happening in some sort of iteration all around the planet, because whether he was the first or not is irrelevant. He's one of many. So that was one of many instances of a plant being planted, no pun intended, amongst, average looking other flora, and then picked up and nursed into a larger size. And so there's that reference in the sad ending. But then in the happy ending, at the very, very end, of course, you've got like the little tiny plant again, the little tiny like Audrey II or Audrey III at this point, in the yard of their perfect little, idyllic suburban home. So that was kind of like sort of a little wink at what could have been.
Does the plant reappear in the
at the very, very end? So
version?
He carries her across the threshold. They're walking into their picturesque little house that she dreams about during the movie. She has that little sequence where she talks about how much she wants a tiny little house, and then it sort of starts to. It looks at their lawn, at their very front lawn, and among all of the other flowers, roses, or whatever, there's a tiny little Audrey II, planted.
Mm-hmm. Nice. I like in the original, the end of the world version, when they show the new plant that the other guy has duplicated. He's cloned or whatever, with. It smiles at Rick Moranis, which I thought when they first showed it and we see it, I thought it was going to do the little kissing, sucking thing like it did in the beginning. But I liked the smile it does because it tells you that it has the same consciousness.
Right. Well, it's a clipping, right?
The Audrey II.
It's a piece that was clipped from the original Audrey II. In the sad ending, I think the very best piece of it, or honestly the saddest part of it, was where it's got Rick Moranis all wrapped up and it's very slowly putting it into its mouth. And by slowly, I mean very, very slowly. Like it's so slow that you think at any minute there's going to be some sort of rescue. And so there's a good solid, at least 7 Mississippis where he's just slowly getting put into the mouth, and then all of a sudden he's in the mouth. Audrey II takes out his tentacles or whatever from being, coiled around him, and then swallows and then spits out his glasses, and then the camera like stays on his broken glasses on the floor. That was the like, man, they tugged that heartstring so fucking hard. Like, I was so sad.
Yeah, and in the Sage production, Seymour basically has a knife. So when Audrey II is like eating him, he just guts her basically from the inside. But like, it was still to the point where like he was being devoured, and he ends up dying anyway.
Pretty good. I like that too.
Oh yeah, definitely. And him feeding his girlfriend to, I forget what Audrey, obviously, to the plant is pretty messed up too. That's like pretty dark. I mean, I know she dies ahead of time, but still. But she dies ahead of time because of the fact that the plant tried to eat her.
And I guess we're just led to assume that her organs were crushed in the first attempt, and so she died, because there wasn't a lot of blood or anything that I could remember, so.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't all that clear. I totally thought she was going to live.
There's a weird little awkward edit
theatrical
in the happy version where, he takes her out and he's got her in her arms and she's talking about like not making it, and then she actually makes it. So it was, you could tell where like the split was. We're like, well, at this point we're making it a happy ending, so we got to cut it here. So I noticed a little bit of awkwardness there, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, that's where they decided.
I think if this movie had been made today, they would have allowed the original sad ending. I don't think they probably would have forced unless the only way they would have forced the happy ending is if it was like a $200 million budget and it was like ILM doing all the effects or something like that, and some super famous lead actor who's like ultra famous. Chris Pratt.
Well, I don't know what it was about it that, I'm usually not it's usually not an issue for me to see like a dramatic ending. And usually I rather enjoy those more than the happy endings because, I don't know, they're typically like a little bit more surprising, with your expectations going to the happy ending. But in this one, maybe because I wasn't aware that it existed and I was already used to the happy ending in some way because I watched part of it growing up and because I have Rick Moranis in it. Like, I had a hard time.
Definitely. But it's a great movie. Definitely
10 out of 10 for sure.
10 out of 10 kind of thing. I remember it being a big hit back in the day when I was a kid too. It was super popular.
Yeah. I can imagine those test audiences being very upset. I feel like I would have probably said the same.
It got like a 13% approval rating when
for
they did
the original ending.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the appropriate ending, the sad ending.
The world sucks enough,
it's the logical, makes sense ending, but yeah. But it's like you do want the happy.
One more thing I wanted to mention. So I don't know if you guys ever watched the show I think it was Pushing Up Daisies. No? It's a musical.
I never saw that.
Sort of a musical.
I remember
There's only one person that sings in it. Or maybe a couple of people, but the lead and the female lead and the male lead don't sing in it. It's just a show, a funny, romantic, detective, comedy. And Ellen Green, who plays Audrey, is in that show. And other than like her hair being a little bit different, well, a lot different from here, she's got the short blonde hair. In this other show, she's got very short black bob. But same voice, same style, same personality. So they basically just kind of took that character and popped it into this other show, and it works really well for her. I mean, with her squeaky voice, with her high pitched voice, and then with her great singing voice, like it's. I was really happy to, again, like one of those things where when I watched it when I was a little kid, a Little Shop of Horrors. I mean, I didn't make a memory of her that well, and then moving on and seeing this TV show, which I think came out in, I want to say 2009, and it only had about 2 seasons before it got canceled. And then remembering, like, hey, now watching him, like, hey, now making the connection and seeing how it's they took all the same good qualities of Audrey and put them in a new character, and it was nice. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I really liked that show, Pushing Up Daisies. I hope they make a movie. Nice.
Yeah, she's definitely one of those actresses that I've seen in other stuff. She's really familiar. It's like, oh, I couldn't think of what I recognized her from, but it's like, I know she's been in. I looked at her IMDb, and she's been in a ton of stuff on TV and movies. And
So she
even
did a
up to
remake.
2019,
Well,
I
you were
think.
saying, T, that she was in the stage production of Little Shop, which was recent, where Seymour is played
Yes.
by Jake Gyllenhaal, right? Gyllenhaal?
Well, she was
They
in like the
re-redid
original
it.
one. I don't know if she was in one
I think John's
after.
going to look it up. Are you going to look? No,
Okay.
he's going to go to the bathroom. All right. Well, I remember like just seeing some images online of her and Jake Gyllenhaal in costume and positions that would imply that he's Seymour and she's Audrey. All right.
I'm looking at it now.
Thank you, T.
Yeah, so you have Jake Gyllenhaal as Seymour, Ellen Green as Audrey. Don't really recognize a ton of these names, though, for the other characters. But it looks like it came out in
2015,
2015.
A different time.
Yeah, I can't say I've seen this. I wonder if there's a video of it online.
So you were saying
Looks
that
like it was playing
fear
in
of
New York
plants
for Broadway.
is. Can you remind me of the word? Botanophobia, but then
Well, it's like
we found
botanophobia.
another one, dendrophobia. But that's specifically for trees?
Oh, dendrophobia? Is that what it is? Fear of plants.
Yeah,
Well,
the
maybe we
fear,
can do that
that's
one
fear of
next time.
trees. Yeah.
Nah, fear of trees.
Nah.
Which one?
There's a few different words, a fear of trees versus fear of plants, and I'm
Oh.
sure we could do a month of fear of just trees.
That's
That's right.
just splitting hairs.
It's just us talking about Tree Venge for
that
an
was
entire
a good
month.
movie.
I'll get
Evil
short.
Dead
short
2.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think?
So-
Did we exhaust the conversation around Little Shop of Horrors?
It was good music, of
Pretty
course.
fantastic, yeah.
All that was really good.
Well, the music changed a lot from the actual soundtrack,
What?
too. From what you
Really?
see in the movie.
Really?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, like
Did you
nothing's,
check out the original?
nothing's like the same between
Oh,
the two.
you mean like the original?
I mean, they're
from
the same.
60s?
Wow.
They're similar songs, but
You mean-
like they're not the same renditions.
Okay.
No, for this one,
How is the original different?
I'm gonna check that shit out.
I don't think I've seen the original.
Oh, okay. But you just were hearing that the music for the original play was reworked
Well,
for the movie.
the soundtrack in this one, the songs differ from what's actually in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that the
So they
original
made
was a
new
musical,
songs for
was
the
it?
movie version. Well, not the original Roger Corman was just a regular movie, but compared to the play, it was a stage play, I think, first, right?
Yeah, in '82.
And I'm pretty sure I recognize the Menken, the guy who did the kind of musical adaptation for this movie. I think he is like a famous musical guy, but I forgot to look him up. But I'm pretty sure he's done some big stuff.
Well, he did a lot of like Disney stuff. He did like Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast.
Right, he's a Disney guy. That's what it is, huh? Yeah, all those Disney animated musicals.
Nice.
Nice. Yeah, it's a hit. Was he Phantom of the Opera too? Did he do that at all?
I'm not sure.
The 80s?
I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
I remember he also did Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
At least
Pretty
writing
good
the
resume.
songs for that. I don't think he actually composed that one.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. But yeah, so what I was going to say, what are we thinking
I
about
thought we were
doing
gonna do
for
the happening.
next week?
It's happening.
Is it the happening? Is that what
Yeah,
we're
you,
doing?
man, I
you
think
keep
it's time to
saying the
give you
happening.
what you want.
Okay, so from the very high highs of Little Shop of Horrors to the very low lows of The Happening. We're going to experience the range of cinematic quality.
I can already tell you right now, I absolutely
let's talk
hate
trash
that movie.
about it for a full 2 hours.
Well, it's fun. Exactly. Sometimes it's fun to trash a movie. And we got Marky Mark, of course, who I believe he's the one who's the main character of The Happening, versus trees that are, I guess, taking the world back from humanity.
Yeah, because, turns out the problem was man.
Exactly, because man is the real monster.
So, T, do you have one that you're going to bring, or are you still deciding?
Oh, I already know what mine is. I just haven't shared it yet.
Oh, that's right. It's a surprise announcement.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say it's a surprise. I did link it last week.
Look at that
you guys
shit.
probably didn't look at it.
Oh.
I'll post it.
And then who gets number 4?
Discord later.
Okay.
Should we flip a coin?
We'll figure something
out.
And
then winner
we'll have to
with the other person?
Randomized entry. We should see if do a little searching too and see if there's anything that's kind of good and obscure that maybe we haven't seen, or a movie from another country or something.
Foreign horror.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah, we'll see what else is out there, but mine's a newer release that came out in 2021.
There's that, I think there's a movie from Hungary or Poland that when I was looking stuff up where it looks like a baby that's also a plant that's killing people. I don't know. It looked very creepy, so that might be a good choice.
There is a mythological creature that's like a plant-based kind of baby creature. It looks like a little fetal baby, but it's a plant. It's like a seed.
Nice.
And I'm not sure what country it originates from, but that is a thing. So there is kind of precedence for the plant-based kind of supernatural creature thing. I feel like with CGI, you could do a good plant monster movie. It was tough in the old days because, how do you... And, you have the trees in Evil Dead 2.
But they will rape you, so you gotta be careful.
Don't look very realistic. But, yeah, exactly. But, I think with CGI, we could potentially have some good plant movies.
Agreed.
Filmmakers out there could get on that.
Yeah, we need a new Attack the Killer
Tomatoes. I've never seen that one.
Oh, yeah. We didn't think of that one. Really? I saw it as a kid. I barely remember. Right? But yeah.
Oh, that's what I always hear.
Is he really?
Yeah.
The rumor.
It's been so long since I've seen it.
He must have been a little kid if he's in it, because it's from
I think he's like a teenager.
70s, I think. Something
what
like that.
What do you think, T? Did you find him?
Are you fine?
I don't see him on the IMDb.
It was another movie he was in that's a cheesy horror. Oh, maybe.
I'm checking to see if he was in the sequel. Let's see.
Oh, is there a sequel? There is, huh?
Yeah, it came out. It's a sequel.
Is he in that?
It's Return of the Killer Tomatoes he's in.
Oh, right.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, he's...
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Partially right. And that's...
So you were partially
That's
correct.
just as close as I get to be
That just wasn't the first one.
Partially right.
Nice. And he was also, of course, in the Facts of Life 80s TV show.
Pretty hunky dude.
But, that's another story.
He's no Rick Moranis, but
Oh, no. I was thinking of Martin Short.
But it was Martin Short.
I was about to say I thought of something
completely
that Rick
different
Moranis
vibe.
did,
I never
but
had
then I
a crush
realized
on
I was
Martin
thinking
Short.
of Martin Short.
But Rick Moranis just always had the super gentle, sweet dude in glasses, with sweater vests. It's pretty good.
Strange Brew. Definitely anyone that hasn't seen Strange Brew, go and rent that and watch that. That's a good Rick Moranis movie for sure.
Just remember, at the end of the day, if you have a plant that only feeds off of blood, definite red flag.
Oh, that reminded me too. By the way, I was thinking about monster plants and how someone I forget in the movie, but if someone describes it as being like a Venus flytrap. But I was thinking of how horrifying a Venus flytrap would actually look if it was really big, like Audrey II, with those long teeth things that they have. That would actually be almost more of a horror.
I mean, like, they're pretty creepy as it is.
The real world. Audrey's almost kind of more cute, even
he's got personality.
When he's big, really he's still kind of cute the way he acts.
Oh my God, that's when he has the saplings.
It's so hard to be mad at fucking Audrey too.
It really is, though, kind of like Gremlins, the story, right? Because it's like they get this thing that's cute, and they're like, "Oh, it's this cute, weird thing that we got," and then it goes crazy and haywire and causes all this mayhem and causes the end of the world. Although in Gremlins, we get Gremlins too, but
Well, like they also like keep on and like sell them and like get one in every single household for like a new family pet, much like in this as well.
I don't think so.
They never made a sequel to this, did they?
You said there was a cartoon, huh?
No.
Little Shop? No.
Yeah, there was a cartoon that came out afterwards.
The dark aspects.
Because I watched a lot of cartoons in the 80s and 90s. I watched cartoons when I was way too old to watch cartoons, and then I got into anime.
When I was in high school, they in the morning getting ready before going to school, they would play G.I. Joe and Transformers back to back. So it was kind of like that's
hilarious because I'm currently on a Bob's Burgers binge. I started them from like first episode, and I don't know if you guys realize this, but they've been on for 12 years. It's a really long time. In my brain, it's still like 3 or 4, and then when I actually went back, I was like, "Holy shit!" But it's not to go into a Bob's Burgers review, but. I did notice, like, in the first couple of episodes, I think they were really trying to compete with Family Guy. And so a lot of the content was really, like, kind of pushing the envelope and a little on the racy side. But as the show developed and the characters really settled, it got more towards the sweet family, or, like, still funny, still sort of slightly edgy, but only with some of the jokes, but a lot sweeter. And Louise really calmed down and mellowed out. It's a really good show. I really like it. It's my happy place. It really relaxes me.
Yeah, so the cartoon series came out in 91 under the name Little Shop.
No.
It was only one season.
Does it say where you can find it? It's probably on YouTube.
Honestly, no, I don't know. I'm just looking at Wikipedia. But this is another one of those movies that had like a board game come out, like obviously for merchandise purposes. Very similar to the alligator one, except in this case, you're basically trying to feed Audrey II marbles,
like
and then it will like clamp down on you. So if you get bit,
it's probably like
if you get bit, you're basically.
You were saying the alligator game too now, where you try to put down a tooth each time to see which one's the one that like Battleship. That's not fun. I like games with like cards in them and stuff.
And then it bites down. Yeah.
Except for Monopoly, that shit drives me crazy. I almost divorced my husband over a game of Monopoly.
Yeah, that game is horrible.
It really is.
Monopoly is horrible.
Horrible.
Or really great, depending on how you want to look at it.
Yeah. Someone was saying, and I realize it's really true, that almost nobody plays Monopoly by the actual rules. that basically everybody has their sort
Really?
of house rule method of playing that they grew up playing. But if you actually go back and read the rule book, like it's like most people are not actually
Well,
playing.
good. That means that we can start a whole new fight whenever we play Monopoly again. Break out the rule book.
Definitely.
Yeah, sure. It still won't end without the table getting flipped
Yeah,
or someone's
I'm
feelings
more
getting
the
hurt.
feelings
Just
part.
part of the course. Mm-hmm.
It's not that I'm a sore loser, John. It is that I tend to when I'm playing board games, and if my husband Joe's in the mix, I naturally will try to help him along. Even during my turn, I'll go after somebody else. I won't go after him, but he doesn't, and he forgets that I do this, and so he'll inevitably like go after me at some point, and then I get really hurt, and then all I do is focus on him and try to crush him in the game. It's really unhealthy.
Nice.
And then where it's
I will
like,
destroy
well, if you
you.
attack this person, you'll win, or you could go after Joe and you can both lose. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do the second thing. That's what I'm going to do. Pretty much.
If I'm going
And then
out,
we
you're
don't
going
talk
out with
for
me.
like 2 days.
Totally.
Monopoly.
Nice. Similar to The Happening in terms of terrible
I
experience.
can't wait. I cannot remember this movie, so I can't wait to watch it. So
Just
I
to
can
tie it
Yes.
back.
so I can openly hate it.
Yeah, same. I know. I'm actually looking forward to watching it because I've never seen it. So now I have a reason to watch it. So I'm looking forward to the horribleness of it.
Mm-hmm. And
Although maybe
that's what the podcast is for, introducing you to terrible things.
Definitely. Although it's possible that I could end up liking it and then
I
have the
don't
weird
know.
hot take that it's actually a good movie.
You're pretty good
I'll
at
try
that
to
too.
rational how it's actually
And you got
good.
me like changing my opinion.
No,
Like, I was gonna bash it. But
I don't know.
John makes a really good point.
Maybe
It
it's
is
actually.
meta and cool that way.
I don't know. I'll try. I'll see if I can I'll see if I can find the positive. Maybe I can get into the mind of
I feel like
M.
that's
Night
not going to be
Shyamalan,
too hard.
figure out where he was coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-mm. I've also never seen his Mermaid.
His
movie,
Mermaid
which
movie.
I hear
Which
is
one was
also
that?
pretty terrible.
Does anybody remember?
Oh,
What is it
God,
called?
what's the name of the? I'm trying to remember. We watched this at one of the Conjecturing watch parties.
Is it the lady?
The Lady in the Water.
Yep.
Oh shit!
There's like a mermaid in his
There's
apartment.
an actual
swimming
mermaid
pool.
horror movie that's pretty good. It's about mermaids that are like, they go clubbing with you on a yacht at night, and then it turns out that they're man eaters and they eat you. Well, they eat you on the yacht, I think.
They
and then
pull you into
later
the
they end up
water.
in the water, or some shit like that. And it's like Eastern European, and I think it's on
This
the
is a newer
Criterion,
movie?
app, and it's all like that blue tinted, everything sucks kind of kind of style.
Mm-hmm.
It's
I gotta
good.
check that out.
Mm-hmm.
If it's on Criterion, that must mean it's a legit movie. Nice. I gotta check that out. We never
Is there
did
a fear
the
of mermaids?
movie with fear of
Just
water
mermaids a whole month. And then we could do a whole month of
Fear of
unicorns.
mermaids. I'm picking the Little Mermaid then.
There is a phobia for mermaids.
Definitely. There's got to be a phobia for everything, I think, at this point.
Oh, you would think, but some of them are like so generalized that
Hey, this
it's hard to
theme is
pinpoint.
practically endless.
Fear of mermaids.
We'll never run out of phobias.
And it shouldn't be afraid of mermaids when there's sharks. I mean, it's like, that's a real thing to be scared of in the water. They will actually eat you.
Well, fears aren't always,
Mhm.
rational. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep, of course. Yeah, we still have to do the personal fears
Mhm.
I don't want the world
episode
to
at
know
some
what my
point
personal
too.
fears are. I'm already thinking about it,
Month.
and I'm just like,
Yeah,
And
maybe
just use
that'll work.
Joe's fears.
not.
Yeah.
And then by the time we actually get around to it, people will forget. So it'll be fine.
Mm.
All right, so yeah, the happening next week here on Handle with Scare. That should be something.
How long did we go this
Somewhat
time?
of an
I can't
experience.
see it on the
Sure,
screen.
we'll go with that.
That's not too bad. Okay.
Like an hour 10 right now.
Hour and 10. Mm.
And by the way, I did see Jaws
fun?
in theaters this past week for Labor Day because they released it in IMAX
Wow.
and also 3D.
great.
Made like 3.3 million, which is pretty good.
Nice.
But I had a great time. That was a cool experience, and I'm not going to pass up an opportunity to see Jaws in theaters.
Is it Labor Day? Does the movie take place during Labor Day, or is it 4th of July? Which
It's
holiday?
4th of July.
is Jaws? Oh, okay. I thought it might have been Labor. They released it for Labor Day because it takes place during Labor Day. But that's cool. It was an IMAX.
Mhm.
Nice. That would be kind of crazy.
Now it's a pretty packed crowd too, which was nice to see.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I gotta go to more of the Alamo Draft. We have the Alamo Draft House here, and they've been having the whole
Tuesday nights?
which I think
I haven't
is
booked
Tuesday
myself on a
night.
Tuesday night. I have Mondays and Tuesdays free where I don't have any social obligations. This is my Wednesday.
Mm-hmm. We went to Return of the Living Dead recently there, which I think we talked about just a couple weeks ago in the episode. Yeah, no, definitely. The theater is coming back.
Yep, and I'm in the middle of doing 61 Days of Halloween, so I've been streaming 80s
That's a lot of fun.
horror movies every night.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah, tonight we're doing Pumpkinhead.
Nice.
So that should be fun. But
Yeah.
anyways, I think it's time that we close up shop for tonight. Of course, if you guys want to keep in contact with the podcast, you can find us over on Twitter at Handle with Scare. You can also reach us via email at handlewithscarepod@gmail.com. So just as a reminder, next week for our continuation of Botanophobia, we have The Happening, directed by M. Night. For better or worse, we'll see how everyone sees that movie. Should be interesting.
Sucker.
I saw it in theaters. Haven't watched it since. For my own
Sorry.
reasons.
Nice.
But yeah, that'll we'll see how that one goes, because there's definitely some things in that movie that just don't really make a whole lot of sense.
Nice.
But until then, guys, I hope everyone enjoys their week, and we will see you guys back next episode. Take care.